Hi guys, so it's day 5 of Vlogmas. It's, Friday, December 5th. Holy shit. This is actually probably the longest I've ever stuck with anything like this. So, I'm doing pretty goddamn good. Anyways, today I'm going to do 5 favorites. I'm going to list 5 books that have been my all-time favorite books. I think everybody knows or has heard of the author Anne Rice. And Anne Rice wrote the Vampire Lestat and Interview with a Vampire books. And I don't know how many are in the series. I never read them. I've tried to read her books here and there and never really got into them because her style of writing is not my style of reading. It was very hard for me to comprehend what I was reading. I feel the same way when I read Stephen King books. I love his stories, just like I love her stories, but I cannot read 3 pages of descriptors and still remember what I'm supposed to be remembering. So, yeah, I don't read very much of his books, and I definitely don't read a lot of her books. But there was one book that I read in my early 20s that stuck with me, and I've probably only read it 2 or 3 times, but I love the story. It's a book called Belinda, and she wrote it in like the mid-80s. And she wrote it under a different name. She wrote it by Anne Rampling. And it's about this 16-year-old who is basically obsessed and in love with this 44-year-old author. And he writes like kid books or something like that. I can't remember if it's like kid books or just young adult books, but I'm pretty sure it's like kid books. And she's in love with him, and she goes to meet him, and he falls in love with her, and it kind of explores the relationship between the underage viewpoint and how I think Belinda is actually like the youngest person in the whole book, but she seems wise beyond her years. I really liked that book. I thought it was very realistic, and you can't help but be like somewhat shocked at the pairing. But in the end, you're pulling for them. You know, you're really hoping that despite all the things that they must overcome, like her mom and her uncle and society and I don't know. There's a lot of obstacles that they have to go through, but you're kind of like hoping that they'll make it work. And I'm not going to say whether or not they do, but it's definitely worth the read. So kind of along the same line as Anne Rice, but I would never say that their writing styles are similar. I think that so hard for me to say this because I don't read many like horror kind of books, but along that same vein is another amazing author. Her name is Poppy Brite, and she's written some of the best books that I've ever read. Lost Souls, Love in Vain, the compilations, Exquisite Corpse, which should have made my list, but I didn't put it on there because it's I love the book, but it's like definitely not for everybody. I mean, it is called Exquisite Corpse, so you can only imagine that it's basically about a guy who fucks corpses. But in the same, like, it's just, I don't know. It's such a good book. It's such a good book. But that's not the one that's on my list. Drawing Blood actually made my list. Drawing Blood is about this guy Trevor, who is a comic book artist, and he survived like a murder-suicide that his dad committed. So basically his dad killed his mom and his brother and himself, but left Trevor alive. And Trevor goes back, this moment has always haunted him, and Trevor goes back to his childhood home to kind of figure out what the fuck happened. Like, what happened to make his dad flip his switch. So, it's just a really good book. It takes place Missing Mile, North Carolina, I think, which is a fictitious place. But a previous book of hers called Lost Souls also took place there, and I would not suggest, I don't know, I really loved Lost Souls, but not as much as Drawing Blood, and definitely not as much as Exquisite Corpse. But I did love Lost Souls. So if you are interested in, like, it's not exactly a series, there are a couple of characters from Lost Souls that wander into Drawing Blood, but it's not like a main part of the book that you have to read Lost Souls first. It's just a very interesting kind of parallel. I don't know, she's just a really awesome writer. So going to like I guess we're kind of coming down in intensity, because my third most favorite book is Go Ask Alice. It was written by Anonymous. I think we all kind of know, like, I think her name was like something Sparks, like Deborah Sparks or Brenda Sparks, or I don't know, something like that. I don't know who it was that wrote the book, but it's from the 70s, and Drawing Blood was from the 90s. And so Go Ask Alice was from the 70s, and it takes place as like a diary of a younger girl who is going through a bunch of shit in her life and doesn't know what the fuck is happening. And I think that I read it for the first time at like 18, and I think that at 18 I wasn't experiencing a lot of what she was experiencing, but 18 was a very pivotal moment in my life, and to kind of read something where this other person is going through some very messed up shit, like along the same time that I was, I think it really put life into perspective and helped me through a really rough time. I had my first copy. I like took it from a library or something like that. I don't know. It got lost in like a move, and then about 5 years ago my sister bought me another copy for my birthday, and I do still have it. I don't have any books to show you guys, because all the books that I've loved so much I've actually gotten rid of and repurchased on my Kindle. But Go Ask Alice I do still have, and okay, I didn't get rid of them. I lent them to people, and I was like, you can keep it. So I guess I did kind of get rid of it, but I lent it like out into the world. I set it free for another person to fall in love with, and I just repurchased them on my Kindle. So yeah. So Go Ask Alice was definitely a game changer for me. The next two are like contemporary romances, I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Okay, so my fourth is Agnes and the Hitman by Jennifer Crusie. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's Crusie, and it's about this girl, Agnes, and well, she's like a woman, and she has a house, and it's like her dream house, and shit just starts going wrong. And so like this guy shows up and tries to kill her or like rob her or something, and she has a lot of anger issues, and she immediately fights back and like smacks him in the head with a frying pan, and I can't go any further. Anyways, this guy that like this older fellow that she knows, kind of like a father figure to her, calls his, I think it's his nephew or something like that, and has him come to town, and he's basically a hitman. So he's kind of there to protect Agnes, but I think that he doesn't like understand that she has a lot of anger issues, so what he's really doing is protecting everybody else from Agnes. But it's very like comical. I laughed the whole time I read it, and I actually have like a whole shelf full of Jennifer Crusie books that I'm slowly giving away. And I love her writing. I've loved everything that she's ever written. But Agnes and the Hitman is my fucking jam. And I think that, like, if I could buy 20 copies of it and just mail them out to, like, everybody I know, because I only know 20 people, I would do that. That's how amazing that book is. My last book, my last like absolutely favorite book, hands down, I read it once a year, is called Night Play by Sherrilyn Kenyon. It takes place, I'm pretty sure it's like modern time, but there is this whole other like world within our world that we don't know about, and it like kind of features like gods and goddesses and these characters called dark hunters. And Night Play is actually about I think it's a werewolf. Like, I'm pretty sure he's a werewolf, because they have werewolves and then they have shifters, and I can't remember if he is a werewolf or a shifter. Like, I don't, like, one of them is born human and can shift, and the other one is actually born a wolf or whatever and can shift into humans. So there's like the big difference between the two, and there's like this war going on between them. But I'm pretty sure that Vane is a werewolf, and he falls in love with this woman named Bride McTierney, and it's just a really great romantic read with like paranormal undertones, because he's a werewolf. There's no other way to explain that. Yeah, he's a werewolf. But it's hot as hell, and it's a really great book. And her whole series with the Dark Hunters is amazing. I don't know if she's like branched out into other things. I think there are a couple of like Lords of Avalon or something like that, and I've never read those. I've only ever read the Dark Hunter series, and I'm really surprised that I don't have a double bow and arrow tattoo yet, but I have held off on getting one. Yeah, it's just a really great book. It's called Night Play. It's like the 5th or 6th book in the Dark Hunter series. And yeah, that's it. That's my 5. I hope you enjoyed this. If there are any books that you think that I should read, leave them down in the comments below. And, or hit me up on Twitter. You guys know my Twitter. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys. Bye.